What is a job that most people glamorize but it is actually shitty? Being a chef. The reality is long, brutal hours, low pay, and high stress, not creative freedom and glamour. Yup. I was a chef for 17 years. It's grueling and often dehumanizing. I have friends who know I was a chef and sometimes they ask me something like, "My son wants to become a chef. What do you recommend he do?" My answer is always, do something else. I feel like that is true for literally everything. Oh, I love gaming, I should be a Let's Player or streamer. No, you'll never have time to play the games you want because you're chasing the clicks and you have to be constantly acting, and when you aren't doing that and shilling sponsors, then you're spending hours editing to make sure your videos aren't boring for even a second, or the low attention span audience will click away. Like reading? Well, BookTube and BookTok are all about aesthetics and hauls, not actually reading the damn novel. And so on, and so forth. I'm glad I didn't discover I enjoyed cooking until university. I might have done something stupid like go to culinary school. Working in fashion industry. Filled with narcissists, egomaniacs, and low self-esteem people. A lot of lawyer jobs are shitty. I actually do like mine, but a lot of people just think it's high pay and exciting. No, it can be high pay, but it can also be aggressively mediocre pay, and it's nearly always actually a lot of paperwork being filed. It's always a shock to new lawyers when they realize that the job is nothing like law school. You're not making complex analysis of breaking case law. It's mostly writing the same motion / making the same argument / reviewing the same boilerplate contract language over and over again until you retire.
Hey, don't scroll to the next thread. Please just subscribe, like and hit the bell, or you will miss the next wild Reddit story. I'm already working on it, so see you in the next video.
Small business owner. I've only known two types of small business owners. Absolute monsters of human beings. And decent people who are constantly burnt out and tired with mental health struggles and no time for themselves, running on a quickly depleting reserve of passion for their trade. I worked with a wildly successful small business owner, but it was like working for Miranda Priestley in Devil Wears Prada. She was a monster of a human being. I think she probably worked in her sleep. She expected all of us to work equally as hard and was always very vocal about her disappointment that we weren't absolutely devoted to her business 24/7. My parents both had their own small businesses, respectively. Despite neither really knowing what they were doing when they started, they both worked really hard and got coaching from a really good business coach. Both turned their small business into a really great small business with employees who really enjoyed working there. Mom ended up selling her business to a Canadian company for a modest profit, and Dad's business still running with his employees managing without him. I think he sold 10% equity to one of his employees who has been managing it for him with an option for her to purchase more of the business when she can afford it. They are both now retired and are sailing around the world. Which was their dream from when I was a small child. Not every small business story is a nightmare. Flight attendant. People would romanticize it as glamorous lifestyle, a fit young woman jet-setting across continents, looking polished, sipping coffee in Paris one day and walking a beach in Bali the next. But in reality it's grueling work, cleaning up toilets, serving reheated food in cramped aisles, wrestling with passengers' overstuffed carry-ons, and staying polite while people snap their fingers at you or blame you for weather delays. It's long hours, jet lag, and sleeping in hotel rooms miles away from home. The traveling the world part is usually a few blurry hours between flights, just enough time to shower, eat something questionable, and get back on the plane. Thanks for mentioning this. I thought it's a dream job when I was younger. It still can be a dream job for many. I'm not a FA, but my partner is, so I have a front row seat to the reality of it. She is able to manipulate her schedule better than most occupations and gets flight benefits to travel for free, standby of course. Throw in known crew member access as well. The pay is not good for many years, but I think even the junior folks do well enough at this point. You can work a lot when you need extra money, and you can scale back when you want more time off. Yeah, sometimes this takes some work to trade down or requires putting money on shifts. The worst part about it overall is the golden handcuffs. For her to switch airlines would mean starting over at year one pay and seniority, both of which are unacceptable, so it's kinda a one company for life type of situation. Working in the film industry as an extra. It's long hours, lonely, and boring for the most part. I have been a background actor on many things, and it is a lot of hurry up and wait. 16-hour days. Sometimes you get fed well, and sometimes you're almost forgotten about until they toss you a half a sandwich and a can of Coke. As I hear it called often, acting cattle. Kept in one spot for long period of time. Some sets don't allow electronics. Then your handler comes get you all, brings you to set to do your thing, then you are rounded up and brought back to UPenn. Being a bodyguard, EP, for talent. Most of the time they ignore you, or even worse treat you poorly. Long hours, 99% standing around doing nothing interesting, and the job can be absolutely mind-numbing if you end up at a fixed post. Last thing you're doing is running around like James Bond taking down bad guys. Adam Sandler is one of the friendliest talent in the industry, making sure all his EP guys are fed, and will personally hand out food to each guard. Not the same thing, but I have a friend who was a personal assistant for a few Hollywood stars, and he said it sucked. Like, getting calls in the middle of the night to change their flight because their cat threw up and stuff like that. In this thread. All jobs suck, and honestly we should all be gardening naked. The irony is that I was going to post my current job, as a farmer. People tell me it's all gardening and cottagecore and cutsy, but I'm covered in cow poop most of the day and start work at 3 a.m. The fashion model. A shoot day can be 12+ hours of standing under hot lights, being pinned and prodded by stylists, while repeating tiny, unnatural adjustments. Constant pressure to maintain a specific, often unhealthy, weight and look. Only the top 1% make the money people imagine. Came here just to say this. As a photographer and a director, I can assure people that modeling is not just standing around looking hot. It's work. It's a level of willpower and body control that I've rarely seen outside martial arts. Cybersecurity. It's not James Bond shit. 90% of the time it's as boring as comparing log files, and telling people, no, don't click the phishing link. Then there's the 2% of the time that it's fun and exciting, but that's immediately followed by the 8% of the time that you wondered if you or your team is going to get blamed and fired for the bullshit that just happened. The first example that comes to mind is becoming a doctor. I have 3 close friends who all became physicians, and after about 10 years of practice each, they all say the same thing: if you want to make money, there are much easier ways to do it than practicing medicine. It seems to be a pretty universal sentiment among the people I know at this point. I play tennis with some doctors, and recently one guy's mouth was bleeding when he showed up to a session, and when someone mentioned it to him he said he'd regularly started grinding his teeth so hard his mouth would bleed. From stress? It made me realize how intense that lifestyle must be. But then he went out and bought a car on a whim, literally just to make himself feel better. Working at a bookstore or library. No, you do not get to read all day. And most of these jobs require some evenings or weekends. In the bookstore, it is, at the end of the day, still retail. In the library, you are dealing with crises ranging from mental health breakdowns to bodily fluid accidents where they aren't supposed to occur. I'm a librarian. It isn't what people make it out to be. Whenever I bring up my job, people laugh and joke that I shush people all day long. No, a lot of our job is mentally draining and can be physically dangerous. I want to add that this has been my experience. I feel the need to add this in because so many librarians I know want to pretend that this job is safe, and that those of us who have experienced mental and physical violence need to not say anything. A few people have said lawyer already, but I'm going to specify criminal lawyer. Being a duty solicitor sucks, long trials suck, and the pay is terrible. Oh, and you get to hang out with people who are almost always lying to you. Those that are actually innocent victims of the system weigh heavily on your mind. Journalism, especially print. You make less money than you can working at a fast casual restaurant. The industry is in shambles, so you're subject to furloughs, unpaid days off, and the benefits are atrocious. You are required to be extremely detail-oriented and meticulous in an extremely high-stress environment. You work awful hours covering interminable meetings, and everyone hates you and calls you fake news. You either anchor yourself to a passion for transparency and try to keep your head above water, or you burn out. I graduated with a journalism degree despite people in the business telling me to major in something else. Almost no one I graduated with is still in journalism. While I won't say it's a bad job or it's not fun at times, being a performer who portrays princesses at Disney is way less glamorous than you'd think. It's incredibly hard work, challenging in ways you'd never imagine, and wildly demanding. It's rewarding, of course. But in no way is it glamorous when you're in it day in and day out for many years. Hours are sometimes 12+ hour days. Trying to look your best for that long in 120-degree weather is impossible. Some days you take more verbal abuse than receiving compliments and gratitude. The costumes are sometimes very uncomfortable and ill-fitting, and I know so many women who are left with permanent injuries from the costumes. Wearing high heels for 8+ hours a day is not for the faint of heart. And good luck getting Disney to cover the cost of every injury you have due to the job. And all the while it's a job you know is temporary, and you can only do it for so long because you'll eventually age out due to look. It really is a largely thankless job that people think is easy and simple, but it's anything but that. You're literally doing improv for hours and hours and day, ensuring every guest is happy with the experience, when every guest wants something different and has different expectations. Plus, you only have 30 to 70 seconds to please everyone. My son, who is on the spectrum, had an obsession with Disney princesses. The year that we went to Disney World, he met around 7. Every single one made him feel like he was the most important person in the world. I don't know if you heard it enough, but on behalf of all of the parents, thank you.